Oh my god, my hair looks wild. Hello and welcome back to a conversation with Erin, with me, Erin. If you're watching this, I just want to apologise for my hair. I have no excuses for it other than I've been in bed pretty much all week, ill. It kind of is what it is. There's not a lot I can do about it. This is the issue with having curly hair and not doing anything with it other than blow drying it straight. It's a stupid idea unless you're gonna maintain the straightness. Instead I've just let it go frizzy. So I'm not looking my best today, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, what's been going on this week? Well, I've been in a Crohn's flare again. I've been passing blood and I've been just really fatigued. It's been not fun. I'm in quite a lot of pain at the minute. I tried a coffee because I felt like my belly was getting better, and I stupidly this morning tried a coffee and it's really hurt my belly. Don't really know what's going on with that. I've done a stool sample today, all the exciting stuff. So I guess we'll just see. I just don't think my new medication is right for me, but that's okay. These things happen, especially when you're chronically ill. It's obviously frustrating. It means that I've been a lot slower this week than I would like. However, life happens and you've just got to kind of roll with the punches, don't you? And it just is what it is. I've cried about it a lot and there's not a lot more I can do, and I can sit crying about it, but that's not going to help anybody. So yeah, I'm trying to see as many positives in it as I can. There isn't many, but I'm sure there's a reason. The universe definitely has a plan. I'm trusting in it and I know what's meant to be will be. That's kind of been where I've been at. So hence why the podcast has been a little bit neglected, because I'm also a businesswoman now. So I'm starting my own business. I think I said that a couple of pods ago. And we're in the final stages of getting it up and running. And because of that, it means that it's just taken so much time. And this past week of being unwell just hasn't really helped the whole how much time I have, which is slightly frustrating. But I'm loving creating my own business. I'm so excited. I don't know how I'm gonna feel running it. There's so much to think about, in terms of finances and bookkeeping, and there's so much to learn, but I'm absolutely loving it. I don't know anybody who has their own business. It's a very new thing in my world, but I love it. I love the idea of being my own boss. I love the idea of what I'm setting up is what I'm passionate about, and for me it's really exciting, and I feel very privileged that I am doing this. I feel so excited about it, and if it is a success, which I think if it's meant to be, it will be, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to share it. I'm genuinely, I keep on wanting to share it. I'm no, wait until it's up and running. Let the excitement build for yourself. Because I think the more I wait, the more excited I'm going to be to share it. And I don't want to share it before it's ready. It's really important for me for it to be ready. And I just have so many ideas. I do think I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, which is something I am guilty of. I'm definitely getting ahead of myself in terms of where I can see it going and what I want to do with it. And I know that is a really good thing, because it means I'm passionate about it and I see a future for it. But it's also get it up and running first. Get your first lot of income with it and then run with it. But yeah, I feel just my mind's spinning with ideas. I feel so inspired. This is very such a girl thing to say, but I was watching Keeping Up with, it's the Kardashians now, isn't it? It's not Keeping Up anymore, from this week to this morning. And it was about Kim and her being a businesswoman and stuff like that, and I'm I love it. I love that she does so many things and she helps people, as well as earns a living, as well as looks so hot. And I'm I want that to be me. I want to be glamorous, she says, looking she's got a beehive on her head, but I want to be all of those things. And also a mum and a wife, and I just am so excited for my future and where this can go. And that's what I mean, like, when I'm getting ahead of myself, I'm like, oh my god, what else can I do? And like, I can't wait to be like a boss bitch. But like, Erin, just like, take your time. Like, I'm also telling myself, like, you need to take your time, and like, that's also okay. That's kind of been my life the last couple of weeks. What's really occupied my mind the last couple of days, and this isn't today's topic, by the way, is, I don't even want to give his name airtime, but oh my god, I think I've got something in my eye. But I think it's really important that I speak on this issue, just because it's filled my head so much. I've had dreams about it. I cannot stop thinking about it. So obviously, whether you're from the UK or not, I think there's probably an awareness of the fact that we're in this shit. Like, I think the UK is in probably the worst place it's ever been, politically, economically. Everybody's struggling and nobody's helping. Well, we're all trying to help each other, but the people who've got the power to help us are not helping us. I don't have any quotes or anything word for word, but Rishi Sunak and the Conservative Party in the UK, he said, and I quote, "A man is a man and a woman is a woman." In terms of transgender people, they are in the process of putting in a policy to ban transgender men and women from the gender they identify as wards in hospitals. So if, as a trans woman who was born biologically a man, she would not be allowed to go onto the same ward as a woman. Even though she presents as a woman, she identifies as a woman, that's who she is in her soul. She is not allowed to go on the same ward as a woman in a hospital. She would have to go on a ward with the men. And vice versa, a trans man would have to go on a ward with a woman, not with men. Pretty sure that's the policy they're trying to put in place. I don't know whether it's already policy. I don't know whether it's something they are enforcing. I'm unclear on that. Like I said, I'm not overly political. I try to stay informed. I vote. I'm not like deep into politics knowing what it's about. Do you know what I mean? Like, I did GCSE citizenship and got a 3. Like, it's complicated. I watched Rishi's speech and what's her name? Suella Braverman, is that her name? I'm not sure. But in her interview, and cried my eyes out. I was absolutely heartbroken. Bearing in mind, I'm not a trans woman, I'm a cis, white, straight woman. So I don't know and cannot imagine and comprehend how trans people will be feeling right now. I cannot, and all I can say is I will do everything in my power as a cis, white woman to spread awareness, speak to people, and stand with you. It's very difficult because there's actually not a lot you can do in terms of going against the politicians that are already in when we don't have a right to vote on those things. But in terms of raising awareness, speaking out and educating as many people as I can, I will try and do that. The UK government are basically trying to run with the narrative that trans people are predatory, and there are hundreds of people that try and pretend to identify as trans to assault women. That's a lie. There are some very, very messed up men out there who will do everything in their power to hurt and attack women, but that's not a trans person. Unfortunately, we live in a society where people are scared and do not like things they don't know. Unfortunately, there's a lot of transphobia, and the government, they're trying to gain popularity back. They're trying to gain people to vote for them. There are people in the UK, like, there's so many hungry people, there's so many starving people. This week alone, I think 3 teenagers have been stabbed to death on the streets of London. These are the kind of issues we're dealing with. Like, there are hundreds of MPs have got allegations against them of sexual assault. Crime against women is so unbelievably high from people in power in the UK right now, and they are focusing on this other thing because it's easier to do that than speak about their failures in terms of COVID, the economics of the country, the safety of women, trans people, gay people, people of colour. They don't want to speak about that because they've made failures, because people are so uneducated and don't want to educate themselves. It's easier to pick on the underdog than actually own up to their mistakes and lose votes. So that's the state of the country. So I posted something on my story. Someone shared the speech. It's the only place I could find it was this one account on Instagram and TikTok. I'm unsure if I made any sense then, by the way. I kind of went off. It's because I'm so angry and upset. I'm so angry and upset. I don't want to live in a country where people are being discriminated against openly. People are cheering when somebody's being discriminated against just because they're not what society wants them to be. I don't want to live in a country where somebody goes, I'm going to oppress against this type of person because they're a smaller proportion of society and it'll be easy to do, and everyone goes, yeah, we're living in 2023, we're supposed to be a really open country, we're supposed to feel safe, and I've never felt more unsafe in the UK in my life. I've never been more scared to live in the UK. Got a headache now from shouting. So I reposted the reel and I basically said, if you agree with anything this man says, unfollow me, unfriend me, I don't want you in my life. And I also said basically what I just said. A boy I went to primary school with, it is a little bit awkward. He used to be in my friend group in primary school. We went to different secondary schools, never really saw him again. Didn't really know what he was doing with his life. I didn't realise he followed me on Instagram. He DM'd me, swiping up to that story, and was like, bye with a crying face, sorry. And he actually unfollowed me. I was crying. For one, I was like, that's why I didn't know people my age, he's my age, he's 21 years old, could be so transphobic. It blows my mind that people my age can be closed-minded. I think that's the first thought, was oh my god, these people actually exist. And obviously I'm very privileged that I can sit here and go, oh my god, I didn't realise these people exist, because I'm a cis woman who fortunately is surrounded by quite good people. And I was just that's wild. That is actually wild. I giggled. The fact that he announced it. What a wet blanket. I was just oh my god, you look like such a knob. The sort of people I want in my life and to be surrounded by, and that's people who want to support people and want the best for everybody and want to live in a society where we're all equal and we're all treated the same. And just because you don't understand something or are not something doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's scary, doesn't mean it's bad. If an individual isn't trying to hurt anyone, why are you trying to take their rights away? We're all just trying to live our lives, be authentic to ourselves. Life's too bloody short to want to hurt other people. And look, I'm not saying that there aren't messed up people out there, but there's messed up people out there in every single group, every single society, every single characterization of a person you can have. You will find somebody who's messed up, but it doesn't mean everybody in that category is bad. Please check in on your trans friends. I've checked in on mine. Please check in on if you see people on TikTok that are trans and they're upset, just give them a comment or a message. I think the world is going to be really, really scary for them. I know I've said I feel scared, but the world's going to be really, really scary for them right now. So try and be as vocal of an ally as you feel you can be. Went off on a little tangent there, didn't I? Apologies for that. I'm not apologising for it. I spoke about something serious. I am going to get into today's topic. We are going to be talking about social media and mental health, because there's been a few things that have been popping up on my timeline, on my explore page, on my For You page, and I've been thinking, this is concerning. And as somebody who has suffered from mental health difficulties and also been educated to a graduate level on mental health, I seeing them and I'm like, something just doesn't sit right. There was a TikTok that went around recently of Kalani from Dance Mums on a podcast, and they were basically going, oh my god, I love my mental health, or like something like that. And I don't think it was said in a way it was perceived. However, it did make me really think about how we celebrate mental health in a really fucked up way. And by that, I mean, we need to speak about mental health. We need to advocate for it. We need to be open about it. Like, I am almost too open about my mental health issues, but that is because, for one, it's a coping mechanism for me. But for two, I want to share because I know how isolating and lonely it can feel. I don't want to romanticize my mental health because it's hell. Like, being mentally ill is hell. Like, I have physical health issues and mental health issues, and being mentally ill, in my opinion, is so much worse. Obviously, my physical health has never been to the point of like I could live or die. It's been very, very serious, very, very dangerous, very, very scary. I've had to have lots of procedures done. It's hard for me. My mental health has always been something that's harder to manage, harder to deal with. I can medicate and look very practically at my physical health. My mental health, I can't do that as well. And for my family as well, my mental health has been so much harder for them to deal with than my physical health. I do think it's important to speak on your mental health difficulties if you feel you can and it's right for you to, publicly. Why wouldn't that be a bad thing? However, I think the difficult thing is I always feel there's a pressure for people, and from when I've had conversations with people of our generation, like my generation anyway, to have mental health difficulties. It's almost like everyone needs to be mentally ill. And I don't know whether that is something that is universally felt. And obviously I don't have that feelings because I am mentally ill. Like, it's not a fun time. But I know from people who are mentally ill, they almost question the fact that, well, is there something wrong with me? Because everyone else is mentally ill now. I should be mentally ill. And that TikTok is almost like normal feelings of low mood and just anxiety that everyone experiences, or just bad days, I think are being brushed with a mental health illness. So then we're like, oh, it adds a bit of extra spice. You can like, I'm not saying don't laugh about it, that's not what I'm saying, because I've said that about me, like, it adds a bit of extra spice. But the way in which it was spoken about, it's like, if you were genuinely really mentally ill, you wouldn't love it. I don't love my eating disorder. I don't love my anxiety. I don't love them. Do you know what? I appreciate what they taught me. However, I would rather not. I'd rather not have learnt those things. Like, I would rather not have experienced some of the things I've experienced. I'd rather have not put my family through some of the things I put my family through. So I wouldn't ever say that I love it. It's something I put up with. It's something I've learned to live with. It doesn't mean I love it. And I think that's what everyone was trying to say with the backlash. But it really made me think about how mental health is on social media now, because it's wild. Like, I think it's wild anyway. So going back to the beginning of like mental health on social media, my first awareness of mental health was Zoella, when she started speaking about anxiety. And I have had anxiety to like an abnormal level since I was a very small child, but we just didn't know that that's what I was experiencing. I would have these like fits of just tears and emotion, and I couldn't like talk or understand what was going on in my mind. And now looking back, I can appreciate the fact that I was just having like an anxiety attack, or I was very, very hypersensitive, hyper emotional, things that I experience now, but I'm able to manage because I'm older, I've had therapy. And it was a different time back then. We're talking like 15 years ago. Like, the world wasn't the same place. So when Zoella first started speaking about anxiety, I started watching her when I was 11 or 12. And it was the first time I watched something, I was like, I get it. Because I was experiencing anxiety at the exact same time in terms of going to school. I couldn't go to school on my own. My mum was having to be late to work to wait because I couldn't be in the house on my own. It was a big mess. And that has continued, like similar themes throughout my life of things being more difficult for me because of my anxiety. And the older I get and the more I've learned and the more I've educated myself, the more I understand my behaviours and how to manage them. Whereas at this time, I didn't even know what anxiety was. I thought my nans definitely had anxiety, but they were just panickers. I was just a little bit of a worrier. Like, it was kind of laughed at. However, I also know at a similar time, now, I wasn't on it at the time, that Tumblr was a big thing. And it was a big thing for disordered eating and posting triggering things and inspiration and stuff like that. And it was kind of romanticised, eating disorders and dieting. I was very fortunate. My friendship group never really fell into this. But I know a lot of girls my age, like teen girls, would have fell into that, and there were friendship groups who did fall into that. Social media, even in its infancy, is being used to romanticise and promote certain mental health conditions. However, now we are a couple of generations in for social media. We have a lot more awareness and understanding of the influence social media has, and we also have a lot of awareness and education on mental health. It's more widely spoke about. Yet I still see things on social media which scare me. I just want to preface, I'm not going to be speaking about any content in specifics. I'm only going to be speaking about one account by name. I'm not going to be speaking about any specific content because I do not want to trigger anyone. That's not what this is for. I now think that TikTok is extremely bad for the promotion of eating disorders. However, I saw a post on Instagram. It came up on my explore page, and I don't engage with this material anymore, so it concerned me that it come up of this lady, and it was genuinely one of the hardest things I've ever seen. She was very, very unwell, but acting as though she was well, and it was romanticising anorexia. That's the only way I can say it. And in the comments, there was a man who was posting very similar content saying, I strive to be this, and then said some very triggering words. And she was basically posting photos of her body every day. She was posting what she was eating. She was posting her exercise. And these two accounts' aim, what I could gather, was to get as slim as possible. Yet they were already very, very unhealthy. And I didn't realise Instagram did this. So the minute I saw them, I reported both accounts because I'm somebody who's got experience with triggering content and using it for not the right reasons. So I reported them both, and I got told by Instagram today that nothing could be done. Like, they're not getting taken down. Yeah, it was very, what was being posted was very, very triggering. It shouldn't be up there. It just shouldn't. Yeah, it still is. And then when I was deep in my ED, TikTok was my main source of inspiration. And I know that's a really messed up sentence to say, but it was. It was the main source of things I would look through to figure out ways I could restrict more. It was the thing that I used to look at other people to strive to look. It was just a very damaging space. And obviously the minute you interact with something on TikTok, it comes back up again and again. Similar content gets shared, and the algorithm then become my eating disorder. And when I was spending hours and hours on TikTok because I was too depressed to do anything else, and I was really struggling with my eating disorder, but then I was just seeing my eating disorder again, and I was like, oh my god, this is what I need to be like. It was a really, really dark and dangerous place, and it took a lot for me to get out of that. And there's nothing you can do about it. These people are posting very clearly disordered eating disorders, very clearly in an unwell body, and they are, what's it called when somebody deliberately tries to show their unwell body? There's a name for it. I can't think of what it is. But they basically want to share it because it gives themselves gratification. I found that as well when I was really unwell. And there's these people posting these things and they're clearly doing that, yet that you can't take it down, you can't get rid of it. Like, there's nothing that can be done because the people who are in charge of social media don't really care. And I just know how unwell it made me, and I cannot imagine how unwell it could make somebody else, and continue to make people, and does continue to make people. And it's such a hard spiral to get out of. And social media just kind of encourages the behaviour. It does. Like, obviously not all of social media, but the areas of social media that does encourage it, it encourages it big time. And because of the algorithm, you're just going to be keeping on, like, shown that, to consume that, and it will just encourage it even more. It's like there is a certain person who Shane Dawson did a documentary on. I think we all know the one. She's got dark hair. She's almost like quite gothic. She's been around on social media for years. She's severely unwell. What's really concerning is that her mum says that she isn't, but like she so is. And it's basically, she feeds into a fetish, which makes me feel sick to say. And this is, you know, she needs mental health support and help, and people are taking advantage of that, and they go on her streams, and basically because of how, trigger warning, skinny and bony she is, and how unwell she looks, they get a kick out of it. So she's kind of making her money off of being anorexic and being very, very near death. And this is also what social media does, is if somebody is known and gets famous for being mentally ill, or gets higher levels of fame and clout when they're really severely mentally ill, they're just gonna keep on doing that, keep on engaging, keep on, because if they don't, it will all go away, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, well, I need to keep being this person that I've portrayed myself to be, and I need to keep being my mental illness because that's what's getting me money and engagement and things that are giving me the validation, when actually the validation should come from inside, and I should be getting the help, and I do deserve to be well. There is a certain influencer, I think, who we all know. She dresses up as Elphaba. Her name is Elphaba, and she has been exposed for faking Tourette syndrome and autism. Now, this is all alleged. I don't know. I've obviously never met her. I don't know much about her content. I only know what goes viral, and I know the fact that people have tried to expose her for faking Tourette's and autism, and there was also a live where she was hitting herself in the head. It looked like she was having a manic episode. Whether she was or not, I don't know, but allegedly she does fake her mental illnesses to get clicks, likes and views. Her most viral content is the ones where she's faking her mental illness. If she is faking her mental illness, I want to make it very clear. I'm not saying she is, I do not know, and I don't want to be invalidating someone's mental illness if they do have it, because she might, but there's lots and lots of people that do know her that are saying that she doesn't have these things. I don't know. And by people faking it and using it for clicks and likes, you're taking the seriousness away. You're taking the pain away from it. Like, having a mental illness is the most painful thing you can ever go through. It feels like I can't even express to you how painful it is, how much it hurts, how much it physically, emotionally, like, it just hurts so much. Yet these people are using something that they know will get likes and clicks for whatever reason and running with it, yet not actually experiencing the pain or not actually being honest. Like, a lot of the times when I've seen people speaking about people who have been outed and it's been confirmed that they're faking it, speaking about symptoms and things like that, and it's like, and acting in a way that is supposedly that mental illness, in quotation marks. Like, you can't act in any way because mental illness looks different on everybody. Like, there's not a set way to act to be depressed or anxious or anorexic or bulimic. Like, there's not a set way to act. Like, whether you're schizophrenic or you've got borderline personality disorder, like, there's not a set way to act. Everyone will act different. Everyone will have different symptoms. At the end of the day, a mental illness is a coping mechanism for trauma, and it's a way our body tries to keep ourselves safe. So, you know, that's going to look different for everyone because everyone's bodies and minds have different needs. Anyway, I've seen people like do like a manic episode and I'm watching it. I'm like, this isn't real. Like, you're just you're educating people. Like, you're educating people falsely. You're almost making fun of it because you're doing something that would be seen in an 80s movie of a depiction of that mental illness, but actually it's not the case. Like I said earlier, I think people feel like they have to have a mental illness now. Like, everybody thinks they're a fucking mental health expert, and it really annoys me. I'm sorry for swearing, but they do. Everyone thinks they're like a certified psychotherapist. Like, my whole For You page is people that are like telling me that I've got OCD and ADHD. People have even commented on my TikTok. They're like, are you sure you don't have OCD? No, I've got anxiety. I've been diagnosed with anxiety. I had a therapist for a year. She never once mentioned OCD or ADHD. Just because certain symptoms align with other mental health conditions doesn't mean that's what you have. Like, I've had people like try to argue with me that I have OCD. I watched a panorama with my parents and people are paying to get an ADHD diagnosis. Like, they're just going into, like, they're paying these private hospitals. They're not even doing a proper ADHD test or examination. And they're just diagnosing these people because they've paid them 50 quid. It's wild. And your TikTok For You page will tell you you have every single mental health condition. Because a lot of mental health conditions, having very, very big differences, also have some similarities. And your whole For You page, because these people that aren't experts, that are just trying to get a few clicks and views, all they're doing is just trying to get a clout. Like, honestly, that's all they're doing. Because they know it will get the clicks, they know it will get the views. Because we live in a society where we want to have a label, we want to be diagnosed with something because we want to feel like we belong. And I'm not trying to say that all mental health claiming professionals, like, on social media are fake. There's a lot of real ones. There's a lot of reputable ones. The difficulty is there's nothing put in place by TikTok in particular, but also Instagram and all these other platforms to distinguish between who is a registered, qualified clinician and who is just Paul from down the road that wants to get some clout and doesn't actually know anything. He's just taking from something he's seen online. Or he might even be making up as you go along. I don't know. But it's concerning, like, the amount of people I've spoke to that are like, oh yeah, like, I genuinely do think I've, like, got this. And I'm like, that also might just be how your brain works. Look, if you want to go to a doctor and try and get, like, a diagnosis, I know it's really difficult in the NHS, or you want to pay somebody, like, absolutely fine. Like, if it's something that's interrupting your daily life, then do it. Get the help you need. But if it's only something you're now questioning because TikTok has told you to question it, That's where the issue is. People are questioning things in their brain when it never bothered them before. Like, if it bothered you before and then you've seen a TikTok and you're like, yeah, actually, I should probably check this out, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. However, your brain might just be working like that. And do you know what? The whole of the world cannot have ADHD. Yet TikTok, like, tells us all we have it. It's difficult because I think it's really important that mental health gets spoken about. I think it's really important that awareness gets raised. I love the fact that mental health is spoken about, and I love the fact that it's less taboo and it's getting less taboo. But the issue is the popularity of mental health, which is a really weird sentence to say. The popularity of mental illness is also the fall of it, because people are using it and abusing it, and using people who are very, very ill and abusing them for social media, and they're abusing themselves. It's scary. I don't know where I'm trying to go with this. I think I'm just trying to raise some awareness, because I think a lot of people don't understand. Like, I think a lot of people do, but I think there's also some people who might not get how fake some of these mental health experts on social media are. And there needs to be more regulation. At least, like, you need to show that you're qualified, and then that comes up next to your profile when you're speaking about things, or I don't know. But even with reporting things, like with reporting people who are posting deliberately triggering material, like, it's not like, when I reported it, the account, it said, like, report for an eating disorder, like for promotion of an eating disorder. And I clicked it. So they clearly know that there's an issue. The fact that that's even an option, yet nothing was done. And if this account doesn't get taken down, like, and my report doesn't get taken seriously, then no accounts being reported or posts being reported for eating disorders will get taken seriously. Like, that's the worst account I've seen. And yeah, it's concerning. Like, if a account's posting very, very scary body checks and not getting taken down, then, and if I'd have seen that like a year and a half ago, that had been me over. Like, it would have put me in a really dark place. And that's what's concerning. And that was just on my explore page. I don't even engage in that content anymore. So anyone could have seen it. A little kid could have seen it. I'm like a 13-year-old. And we know younger go on Instagram and TikTok. So yeah, please just, and if you've got children that are using social media, please just, like, keep an eye on what they're looking at, because it's so easy to fall down the rabbit hole. Like I said, like, when I was in school, like, Tumblr was massive. Fortunately, I never fell into that. But I know that from what I've seen on TikTok, there are 12, 13-year-olds posting what I eat in a day for very, very, very few calories, asking in the comments and giving each other advice on how to restrict even more. And when I see that, it just scares me so much. There will always be mental health illnesses, there will always be eating disorders, but more can be done to help people and stop the promotion of them and the romanticisation of them. Yet that isn't being done. I think we're going the other way. I think we're romanticising them more and we're promoting them more. There's a fine line between educating and romanticising, and I don't think we're educating anymore. I think we're romanticising. Anyway, I'm going to end this episode here. I hope that this has given you something to think about. Please let me know what you think about what I've said, whether you agree with it, whether you disagree with it. That's fine if you disagree. We're all entitled to our own opinions. I've actually got a headache now. I feel really ill. But let me run through my 3 gratitudes. I'm grateful that I managed to get this filmed. I really missed you. I've really missed podcasting. I am grateful that I feel cozy. I feel so cozy. Well, I'm not grateful that I just yawned, but yeah, I'm grateful that I feel cozy in my little hoodie. And I'm also grateful that I'm grateful that Albie's in such a good mood today. Me and Albie have had like the best day. We went for a walk this morning and we've just been playing all morning. Like, we've literally had the most fun ever. So I'm grateful for playing with Albie and that he's in a really good mood. And my hope for the future is I'm going to London tomorrow to graduation dress shop. So I hope that I don't poo myself because of my flare, but I also hope that I find a graduation dress. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next week for another podcast. Love you. Bye.